Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got another camera to take a look at. This one's a bit different than the last one. The last one that we looked at was fairly traditional. That was from a company called Amcrest, which is a little bit more consumer friendly. Today we've got one from a company called HikVision or HikVision. I don't really know how they want it pronounced. This is another H.265 capable camera. This is a mini fisheye camera. And this is just a completely different type of camera. And I use one of these at home, actually. So we've got a 5 megapixel sensor. It'll do 2560 by 1920 at 25 frames per second. These, all right, so we get some foam. We get all of our little guides. Are a completely different monster than cameras like that. And you pay a little more for these. This particular camera, I think, retails at about $300. Is very clearly an industrial design. I mean, take a look at the connector mess coming off of here. So this is an alarm connector. This is an RS-485 for serial data and control. This is our audio connector. This is another power connector, and this is our Ethernet connector for it. So we get a ton of those on it. We also get a mounting ring. This is an indoor camera. I don't think it's got any kind of IP rating on it. Day, night, 3D DNR, noise reduction. I don't see any Wi-Fi optional, so it may have a place for a Wi-Fi chip in there. Yeah, I don't see any claims about any form of water resistance, although it is mostly metal, so it should at least be fairly impact rated. All right, so... But this is not a camera that's designed to be left somewhere that people can get to it. I mean, the micro SD card slot's right on the side, as is the reset button. If I leave that in arm's reach, even if they can't destroy it, they can reset it and take it offline. This is a camera that you put way out of people's reach. Now, this is a fisheye, which means it has a 360-degree field of view in this instance. I typically deploy cameras like this on ceilings in large areas that I want to watch. Now at home, that means my porch. At work, that means large open office spaces where, you know, I could do it with more traditional cameras, but it's far more convenient to just cover the whole area with, say, 2 of these than have to have 10 overlapping cameras. And why are we not coming apart? There we go. Oh, there was a thermal pad in the way. So, there's our micro SD card slot. That is a huge Toshiba flash chip on this thing. There's an arrow for where I believe it indicates... Nope, that arrow is in the wrong direction. The camera is marked with front this way, but the arrow on the PCB is pointing towards me. It looks like we're using an Amberella chip. Those are fairly popular in action cameras as well. And what I don't see, GPIO... power, is I don't see anywhere that a wireless card could have gone. So let's go ahead and pull these 3 screws. 4 screws. 5 screws, okay. You know what, let's actually leave these 2 in, because I think these are attached to the camera sensor itself. And I'm going to pull this one. And I'm going to pull this one. And then that one. And then this whole board should kind of fall out if it's built anything like some of the other fisheyes I've used. Yep. Alright, those are just, there are 3 IR LEDs here. And then we've got power to what appears to be a built-in microphone. And this looks like where the wireless chip would go if it was one of the Wi-Fi equipped models. So I was curious where that would be. Looks like there's a spot for a couple of different variants. So there is a battery in here now. There's also a terminal for it to have been a larger battery. So I wonder if that was a product revision or maybe the Wi-Fi equipped model gets the bigger battery. And here is our sensor. You'll notice there's no foam or anything for any kind of waterproofing like we had on the first one. In fact, there's no real provisions for water intrusion protection at all in this design. There's no gasketing or anything of that nature. So, I mentioned this was definitely designed to be more industrial. Obviously, we have all sorts of serial and various alarm I/O that you'd never see on a residential focus camera. The other thing you don't see here, and maybe it mentions it in their book, is software. They assume that you have some kind of software that is capable of talking to this camera already. Yeah, this quick start guide's almost all FCC, safety information, how to mount it, pendant mounting, which is nothing you'd ever do residentially, cement mounting, mounting it on the ceiling. There is apparently a function to do plus or minus 15 degrees pivot with this if it's on a slanted ceiling or something of that nature. There's an optional bracket that's available for these. Obviously this one didn't come with it. You need to purchase this bracket separately if this mounting method is selected. But at no point in here do they tell you how to connect to it. They assume you know how to, which, I mean, in my case, is not a bad assumption. I specifically picked this knowing what I was buying. But, and this is not to scare anyone away, this is not my first security camera type design. Now, I do like these 360 cams, and I will mention that Amcrest, who made that other camera we looked at, does make one, but they were out of stock when I picked this one, and theirs is actually a little bit lower end than this one. Now, some of the features, you know, the alarm, the serial data, I'm not going to use. I just have no use for any of that. But what I do want, and the reason I picked this, is to watch a large open space. And for that application, it's hard to beat a fisheye camera because you basically put it in the center of where you want to watch and then you're done. There's no picking the right angle or worrying about, is that actually designed to be pushed in after the fact? No. Worrying about having to adjust it or tweak it. You mount it on a ceiling, you mount it on a pendant, which is actually one I've not considered before, and that's it. You have your field of view, and you have to pick how you want to look at it. Some of these cameras, and I'm sure this one is one of them, will have an option to separate the field of view into a pair of strips. So you get a picture that if you printed it out and took some scissors and tape, you would have this 360-degree strip from the top of the camera. And that has a disadvantage of that it typically has a dead spot right under the center of the camera. you also get the option to look at these with the big distorted fisheye view. And that has the advantage of you get your whole 360, but especially on the edges, you lose a little bit of detail. So you have to balance those two based on which one you want. But then with this, does it say what its field or what its distance is that it's capable of? IR distance is 8 meters, so 25 feet. So you get a 25-foot circle that this camera covers. That is a lot of space with one camera. And in my case, I'm going to put it in the center of the area, and there's a little bit of light, so that's not actually the limit of what I'm going to be using. That's the limit of its IR field of view. So typically I find that IR is about half the viewing distance of these cameras. So I have a 16-meter circle that this is capable of watching. And that's fantastic. So I do wish someone would come up with a modular connector for these, because these are just in my way. I am tempted to cut these off, but anytime I've tried something like that, it goes poorly. And you can see, like, the Ethernet fits through here if these go up into the ceiling, and then I got to feed this one through, and then I got to feed this one through, and then I got to find a way to cram this connector through. So you sit there and you feed these connectors through one at a time until they're all finally up and out of your way. And now I can mount my camera. And oh, by the way, I just did that backwards. So you'll have to do it all over again. But anyway, as I mentioned when we looked at that Amcrest camera, I am going to have access to these once they're deployed, but there's a limit to how much I can test and show based on where they're located, both for personal and security reasons. But I am more than happy to take a look at these and answer questions after the fact. And depending on how long it takes me to complete that project, I may still have them down to answer questions before the review goes live. So please ask any questions you have, and we'll try and answer those as best we can. As always, I want to thank our patrons and anyone who uses our Amazon affiliate links for helping support Pocketables. I want to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. And finally, thank you for watching.